Welcome back to another episode of the Second Look Hockey Podcast. As always, I'm your host, David Leo. Join with me, I've got two handsome fellas on camera this week. We've got Cristian, producer Alex Mandarino. He's gracing us with his presence today on camera. He's normally behind the camera. I'm going to start this out the way we normally do. Guys, how's your week been?
I feel like this is probably this is episode 17 now.
Yeah,
I think so.
I'm going to guess 10 of the 17 episodes I've come on and said, brother, I can't tell you anything about my week because it absolutely flew by and I have amnesia. Let's make it 11 because that's my answer.
Okay, I actually have a story here. It's not the craziest of stories, but went out, had a Service Ontario appointment, need to get my license and health card renewed, right? But here's the thing. Appointment is the key word in that sentence because it took 5 minutes. You book an appointment, you go in, you go, okay, I see Alex Mandarino on the list, I'm out, right? Now, the only problem was this was Wednesday. I don't know if you guys, Cristian, I know the memory's not there, but what I do remember about this week is the hail storm or whatever that snowstorm that happened.
Wednesday.
Yep.
That was Wednesday between 1 p.m. let's say and 4. It was on and off all day, but that was the worst part. I had a 1:45 p.m. appointment, so go ahead. Okay, we pull in. It's a little snowy. That's fine. We get out 5 minutes later. I swear to God, I couldn't see anything. So I was driving back home like a little nunny, trying to get through the no frills parking lot. It was crazy. I'm thinking, and the craziest part is that halfway home, a cop obviously didn't pull me over, but was behind me, just happened to be behind me. I'm thinking I just got this temporary license, and then it's gonna get immediately pulled over. I'm gonna have to use it because I'm all over the road in the middle of winter apparently. So it was a chaotic part of my week, but that was the standout alone.
Did you happen to come out to your car being an icicle? Because I was at work that night, and so from the time it took me to get into work, and it was closing, to going on a break, which was a couple of hours, my car was a big ice box. It was covered in ice. My windshield wipers were stuck to the window. I had to thaw everything, crack everything out with the. I still have the scraper in the back. Yeah. I had to literally scrape my entire car out to get into it.
Unbelievable.
Professional ice carver now, eh? You gotta enter those competitions, bro. You can chisel something nice together. Yeah, that weather on Wednesday was crazy, and on my way to the subway that day because I worked the Jays game that afternoon, and I saw a lot of fans at the subway. I shouldn't say a lot, but I saw a couple with their Leafs jerseys on and then their Jays jersey on top because they were doing the double duty that day.
Love that.
The passion, times 2 out of these guys. It's an awesome move, and you know what? They actually saw 2 wins that night. So
they did.
Shout out and in that weather, they braved the weather too. That was
imagine you have to walk across the street. You have to walk down the street and get from one to the other. Unless you're going to a path, I guess, maybe. But
even then, it's no easy feat. You got to be outside at least enough that it could bother you. That's pretty impressive.
Quintessential Toronto day there. Ugly weather and some Jays and Leafs. Can't go wrong.
I think 2 days, the day after, it was sunny and 18 as well. So just
I couldn't.
Who knows what's going on?
Ridiculous.
How about you, Davo?
Yeah, no, I've just been working. I've been working and kind of staying up to date. Like I was saying before, I don't know. If Cristian said he came on here 11 times saying, "Hey, I don't remember what I did the past week," I will come on here 12 times saying all I did was work this past week, because that's really all I've been doing over the past little bit. Still trying to kind of find my footing now, but honestly, guys, we have a jam-packed show. The first thing, though, everybody in this room, in our studio
in
our virtual room, was kind of glued to the TV, except for Mando, who was producing something last night. Who was helping out on the tech board.
He was still up to date, man. He was still
keeping tabs.
I had my phone out, just sort of off to the side. I was kind of locked in as much as I could be.
So everybody was kind of glued to that Washington Capitals Chicago Blackhawk game, and for me, seeing Ovi score 3.5 minutes, less than 4 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
I said to myself, "Oh, it's happening tonight. The thing is going to be happening." And we saw in the crowd, Wayne Gretzky was there, Gary Bettman was there, I think he's the director of the CIA was there.
FBI.
The FBI.
It's
J.
like
Edgar Hoover was there.
Random poll, but yeah.
Yeah, I was so bizarre to see that guy in there as well. And, like, the stars were out. And Ovi came out too, man. He came out firing. When did you guys think the record was going to be broken yesterday?
I mean, the momentum in that arena, and just to lay it out in like blatant terms, he scored 892 or 893 and 894 last night. He's now tied. He's even with Gretzky. He's got one goal left to break the record. Yeah, just the momentum in that building. Even like the intermission shows, everything was geared toward Ovechkin. Like there was nothing really game analysis. It was really funny to watch, and I don't know how you couldn't think that the record was being broken last night. Like I was watching that game with my dad, and I'm like, he better get it before we have to get to the empty net scenario. And then like, it was crazy, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I thought we were getting like the storybook type game to get it done in, but got one more.
Yeah, it definitely felt like it. I do agree fully, and I think what really sold it was he obviously scored that second goal to tie Gretzky. Everyone was going nuts. They were showing Gretzky, like, that was the most airtime that Gretzky's gotten in a long time, and he's the greatest of all time in a lot of different categories. The interesting thing was that we were talking about whether Chicago was going to pull their goalie. It was a 4-3 game, and we're thinking, okay, like, is this the right time? Do you pull the goalie? Does Ovechkin want to score his record-breaking goal in an empty net? And as it turns out, and we can get into this if we want, but he didn't. He basically said, like, I don't want this to be a quote-unquote, well, no quote-unquote, but basically he was suggesting that it wouldn't have been, like, as special. And I think we all sort of agree to some degree, but then there's also the home-away factor. It felt like it was the perfect atmosphere for it, but like we discussed, you can't tempt fate. It's going to happen when it's going to happen.
Dude, you've done most of the legwork already. Like, okay, I saw the splits where it's like, I think he's benefited the most in NHL history from empty net goals, but it's like 75. So that also means you have over 800 goals where you've scored on a goaltender. It's like, would one more empty net hurt? Would that,
also Gretzky really has like 50 plus empty netters.
Yeah.
But
I also saw the other split. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Wayne Gretzky, 50 plus shorthanded goals.
I'm going to bet
so
Ovechkin
impressive.
does not have.
Do you know how many Ovi has?
2?
5.
Hey!
I'm surprised it's even that high. At what point
maybe
was
all
he
them
on
came
the
like
PK?
first.
He probably just called his own shot. If you're whoever Bruce Boudreau or whoever the coach is for the majority, and you're not sending him out there, you probably look behind your back and why is 8 on the ice when we have less guys than they do?
What's going on here?
Okay.
I do have a quick,
let's do the. Go ahead.
I do have a quick question though.
Yeah.
Sunday, April 6th.
Yeah.
12:30 against the Islanders. It's a matinee game in Long Island. Does Ovi play that game?
He's playing.
Yeah.
He's playing. And you know what? It's like with the tempting fate stuff, the storybook ending. It's not going to be a storybook ending if it's in a matinee game. It really isn't. I'm sorry. But as long as it's on a goaltender, like I'll settle for that. I will settle for that over being in prime time on an empty net. Definitely give me that option. But I don't see how he doesn't play.
Yeah. Yeah, because the worst case is I can't see this happening, but you do sit him. What do you have, 5-6 games left, and for some strange reason he doesn't score. That's the entire talk of the conversation throughout the summer. Now, again, like the pace that he's on is unbelievable. The fact that he got over 40 in this year of all years, I mean, he's obviously an incredible goal scorer, but we really didn't think it was going to happen with all the factors. I still think it's just best. And again, it's the Islanders. It's a Metro team, so as long as it's something that's a little historical in that sense, you just don't want to be the goaltender. I don't know who's going to be in net there, if it's going to be Varlamov or Sorokin, but I don't think either of them. They're probably being like, please, God, don't put me in. But here we are.
I don't think Ovi's ever scored on Sorokin. I think I saw that somewhere yesterday. Another fun little tidbit there. Tickets for that game right now to get in over $2,000 USD. So yeah. I mean, listen, if you're there and you witness history, wow, $2,000 well spent. But if he's playing and he's kind of just going through the motions and he doesn't score, oof, you just watched the Capitals Islanders game for over $2,000.
Yeah, at 12:30 p.m.
Yeah, tough. Tough.
You know, I don't. Okay, you mentioned it there. Maybe that's the happy medium. Is like he plays, but if he's like, no, this is not the game. I want this to happen, and he just goes through the motions. Maybe that's the happy medium. Where he's not resting, but
we know. Like, I think it was pretty evident yesterday. Like, Ovi can just turn it on still whenever, because he's been great all season. Like he's got over 40 goals, but yesterday he was firing the puck at all angles, doing whatever he could to just get the puck
probably
at the
net. A little bit too much, man. Oh my God.
maybe a bit too much. But listen, man, the guy's got close to 900 goals. I think he knows what he's doing, basically, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
So yeah, maybe he just. It would suck though for the people that have to spend $2,000, especially if you're like an Islanders fan and you just want to see Ovi there. It's like now you got to spend $2,000 just to get in. That sucks. But Thursday though, they are playing back at home against the Hurricanes. Maybe circle that day if it doesn't happen on Sunday. After that, the rest of their
Thursday
games,
or Tuesday.
Thursday, the 10th against the Hurricanes. I've got it.
They don't have a game in between Sunday and Thursday.
No, maybe that builds up a little bit more momentum. And another thought I had is, what if he just doesn't score and the momentum kind of just carries through the rest of the season? I think you brought this up before, Cristian.
I listen. I'm totally fine with him being. It's going to be a really long summer now that he's on 894. To wait all the way until next season, it would have been, I think, a little bit more palatable if he was 3 or 4 goals away. But to me, like I said, storybook end. He comes back next year, scores the goal, and walks off into the sunset in the middle of the game. So I'm still game for that ending.
So on that note, did we want to bring up anything else before we jump ahead?
I think maybe just the empty net stuff in terms of, would you guys have cared, or this can still happen, if he breaks the record on an empty netter? Now that we're here, I think this was a conversation had even last year, because people were already looking at this moment, but now we're here. Like I said, I watched this game with my dad, and I think my dad is not the fondest of Ovechkin breaking Gretzky's record, and he was rooting for Ovi to score on this empty netter so that he can basically make the argument that, he broke it on the empty netter. And I think a lot of people maybe have that take. Maybe not a lot, but there's a subset of people that feel like that. I really do want it to be like an ironclad record for Ov in every sense of the word, that when we pull up the highlight in 20 years, you don't have someone having to make some stupid comment. Not that it matters at the end of the day. I don't know if it definitely doesn't, but I don't know if Ovechkin really will care in 20 years, but I just want it to be no arguments can be made against Ovechkin's record.
I was feeling that way beforehand, and I think the more that you look at the grand scheme of things, if he scores this, let's say he scores on an empty net, and he scores no more goals for the rest of his career, say he just decides I'm walking away now, then I'd be a little bit like, he obviously got the record, but it sucks that he ended his career on an empty net goal. But if he scores, let's say, 896 a couple games later this season, okay, then in your own mind, if you really want to think about it, he still has 2 more goals than Gretzky. And that goal in your own mind could be considered the one that he broke. I think it's only an issue if he ends this season on 895 and it was an empty net goal. But at the end of the day, like we were talking about, that's an interesting take, Cristian, that you'd want to see if he sticks around with it now. He scores maybe first or second game next season, and that's it. Because I would just be it's been so entertaining. I haven't seen such an entertaining storyline that I've been so invested in that hasn't been my Leafs or Sharks, right? It's exciting, but this is it's. I didn't think I'd be this excited to see something, and I just want to see it happen. So I'm a little bit less glued to the fact that it should be on a goaltender.
Fair.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I'm in 2 minds. At first, I was I don't care, but now that we are here, we are on the precipice of the moment. We saw 1 goal yesterday from his spot, and I was like, wow, could you imagine if that goal was the one to break? I mean, it was the goal to tie, and like it was just picture perfect. Like it was picturesque. But I'm afraid though, if he scores on an empty net, we are not like people are not going to be showing the goal. We're going to hear the commentary, but we're just gonna like we're not going to like see the visual because like everybody's kind of going to be, I don't know if it's embarrassed or not, but it's whatever. And I think he's going over 900. He's trying to push this record to where it's in a place where he doesn't even have to do the Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
My dad said that you have to be respectful, and I did. Gordie Howe did this for me, and now I'm doing this for
He said it yesterday, yeah. He's like, I really hope Ovi's there, yeah.
Yeah, listen, I don't doubt it. But Ovi's probably in his head, like, this is my record now, hopefully to keep for the rest of time.
Until his son breaks it in 2040.
Oh, yes, Sasha.
Do you really think... Say Matthews is even close. Let's just use him as an example. If he's at this point, do you really if Ovechkin leaves the United States, like if he leaves North America, we'll never see him again.
He's not coming back.
There's no chance he's coming back to celebrate the next guy.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think we've had way more overseas players, like not even just specific to Russia, just other countries that when they're gone for good. Like I think the first time we saw Pavel Datsyuk in North America after he left was when he was inducted to Hall of Fame a year ago, right? I think that was it. So
I don't think he's been back either.
No, I don't think he cares to come back. I actually think Ovi's got way more ties here because of just the superstardom that he's achieved in the NHL. I maybe that's just optimistically thinking, or maybe I'm naive, but I think he also likes the limelight a bit more. He doesn't strike me too much as the guy who wants to go live in the trees in like a forest and never be heard of again, personally.
Okay. Yeah, that's completely fair.
I've got one last point before we move on. Just thinking about the parallels to Matthews last year chasing 70. We saw that weight on the team last year in Toronto. That's not been a conversation with this chase. I just want to commend the Capitals for just being locked in on still being as good of a team that they can be on the whole while this chase is going on. I think they've done a really good job at not making it a distraction. And they've had a little bit more hiccups recently, I think, but on the whole, they've been steady as can be. So, I like I said, we saw last year proof that it can get into not just an individual's head, the guy chasing records, but the team as a whole. Hasn't been the case in Washington.
It's a really good point.
100%. On that note, do we have anything, or do you guys want to jump forward?
I say we jump in.
All right. So this week we're going to do something a little bit special. We are kind of approaching the end of the regular season, and we felt this was probably the best time to get into this. So we're going to introduce the inaugural Second Look Hockey Award Show. So we've shortlisted 10 different awards that we've came up on our own, and we're one by one. We're kind of just going to read an award, and then we're going to give you a little description about what went into the thought process behind that award and what it entails, and then we're going to kind of all bring up a player or a team depending on the award criteria that we all think fits best with that award. So on that note, I'm going to start us off here. We've got the quote of the year. The criteria for this award is that it's going to be awarded to somebody with the most memorable, hilarious, or powerful quote heard around the hockey world this season. Do you guys want to take it off? Do you guys want to start?
Can kick it off, yeah. I think we were brainstorming in our chat. We were like, there's some ones that come to mind off the dome, and I really do think there was one guy who was just a quote machine. He's been a quote machine for the majority of his career, but there's some interesting quotes this year from the one and only Elliot Friedman. I'm gonna go a little, maybe not off the board is the answer here, but I did some research yesterday and I came across this one just yesterday. It was from 32 Thoughts, so I must have missed it when this was said live. But it's Elliot Friedman and Kyle Bukauskas talking about when Winnipeg and Washington faced off. This was before the trade deadline. And Elliot's talking about Winnipeg, and this is the direct quote. You know what I want Winnipeg to get? Some mobile beef. Mobile beef is the quote of the year for me from Elliot Friedman, because that's just like, what the hell is mobile beef?
Yeah,
and you think about it in hockey terms, and you're like, oh, okay, you want a big defenseman who can still somehow move. Even Kyle Bukauskas, there's a long pause after Elliot says this, and he just goes, "What? What? It's just one of those hockey terms that I found this year that I'm like, you know what? Just when I thought we've really expanded the hockey dictionary, somebody comes up with a new one. So Elliot Friedman and mobile beef is my quote of the year.
I love it. That's the best. Mando, let me just jump in ahead of you quickly because the quote machine himself, Elliot Friedman, he's popping up on my ballot as well. And I kind of said it in our chat. I was like, I forget now what the quote was, and as soon as like the words left my mouth, Cristian knew exactly what I was talking about. So I believe he was on live TV, or was this also from a 32 Thoughts podcast?
I think it might have been 32.
I think 32 Thoughts.
I honestly hope it was too. I hope he didn't go on live TV when Friedge said about the upcoming. It would have been the first Canada-U.S. Four Nations face-off matchup. He said, "My nipples are erect just thinking about it." Now, Elliot, what do you mean by that, buddy?
What are we doing?
I must have saw that quote when it happened. I saw that quote, like the quote board itself, no less than 50 times, I think, on Twitter.
The quote board culture makes it so much funnier, right?
The funniest thing.
Quote boards onto themselves have, especially in like sports, have just become memes, right? You take someone's quote out of context, throw it into another situation, and all of a sudden you've got an incredible meme.
Yeah.
That one, that goes right to the top.
We do have one of those quote boards coming up very, very soon as
Great point. That's a very good point.
Mando, what do you got here for us, buddy?
I can't complete the trifecta with Friedman, although I got to give him credit for just being like, insiders sometimes are so serious. He doesn't take himself super seriously, and that's why we get these awesome quotes. I got to go back to, I think it was August of last year, of 2024, which kind of kicked off the season with a bang. Everyone remembers the offer sheet for Doug Armstrong, St. Louis Blues for Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg. And then when asked about said offer sheets, because it was so rare, everyone was like, you know, what's the reason behind this, and is it just because it's Kenny Holland? In the full quote, but I'll kind of highlight the best part of it. He says, "This is a tool that I think everyone uses and should use. I think it was reported that I wouldn't have done this to Kenny Holland." That's the furthest thing from the truth. Quite honestly, I'd do it to my mother if she was managing the Oilers. So, no, absolutely zero hesitation from the one and only Armstrong there. He was just interviewed by Paul Bissonnette for Spit and Chicklets. He doesn't care at all, and that's why he's the GM of the Blues, who are, I'm sure we'll talk about their success in the coming awards, but awesome. Just down to the point, just grinding it out. You don't hear that kind of like honesty from GMs as often as you do, so I love to hear that.
I do love that one. That is a really good one. I love that we've got some GMs that are kind of no filter.
Yeah.
That's a role, that's a mantle that maybe hasn't been filled with the exit of like Brian Burke, right? And he went into media and continued to go no filter, but it's nice when you have someone still on their job kind of just lay it out in crazy terms like that. That was a great quote. It really was. Okay. I'm going to throw this runner-up out there just because Mando went with the Doug Armstrong one, and I have a Dylan Holloway quote that I considered, which, of course, is one of the guys that Doug Armstrong offer-sheeted for. You know what? I don't have the correct context from when this was from. It must have been in one of a post games, and he got hit with a puck, and I think it was a puck to the throat. And in a post-game quote, he said, "As soon as I got hit, I knew something was a little off. But then I saw we had a 2-on-1, so I couldn't pass up that opportunity." That's another one where it's just like, just hockey. That's
whatever
just
you're
hockey
going to do.
in a sentence right there.
It really is.
Is that a quote from Dylan Holloway or Alex Ovechkin? What the heck is that?
yeah, honestly. Dylan Holloway's coming for the record, bro.
Yeah. No, I honestly, I don't have any other honorable mentions. Do we want to do we want to put our vote through? Like, who do we think has the best quote here?
Guys, I really like both your quotes. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough.
I really do.
I'll be honest here. I do love my quote, and it kills me every time I see it. But offer shooting your mother that's an all-timer.
It's a really good one
from Doug Armstrong, man.
Okay,
I'm willing to go ahead and we can maybe give the award to Dougie Armstrong.
Let's take that one. Yeah. Let's give him that one.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah. Congrats, Dougie.
Alrighty.
Okay, let's do second award here then. All right, Dave mentioned it. Quote board material. This is the Shaquille O'Neal I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game award. Some history behind this award. Very, very historic award here. This Shaquille O'Neal reference goes to I don't even remember what year it was. But he was talking to Cristian Wood in a post game, NBA center, and he just laid it out flat to Cristian Wood like that. He's like, "I'll be honest, I wasn't familiar with your game." And Cristian Wood's response was, "Oh, you're a casual." Is what he said to Shaq. But the description for this award, it's going to the non-rookie/sophomore NHLer whose performance shockingly impressed you this season. Who would like to kick off the Shaquille O'Neal Award?
Dave, why don't you start us off here?
Yeah, for sure. So I put down a short list of 4 names, but the name that I'm going to pick, I was kind of trying to go for teams that surprised me the most, and I think there's been no better surprise this year than the Columbus Blue Jackets. And one player on that team in particular, they have a whole host of just fantastic talents on that team, but one player who, I don't know if he goes under the radar sometimes, but he's kind of turning himself into an elite scorer, or I would say an elite sniper. It's Kirill Marchenko. This year he's got 31 goals, 70 points. That breaks all his career highs that were set last year. He's still only 24 years old, which is crazy to think about because the guy looks like he's about 36. Those are just maybe the Russian genes that he's got. He's also played quite a bit overseas in Russia first, so maybe that's why he's just like a hardened veteran. But, 31 goals this year. He's leading one of the surprises of the season. And for me, I don't know if he really gets talked about as much as some other people maybe on his team, and for good reason. You've got guys like Zach Werenski on that team who, honestly, for a second there, I thought could have won the Norris.
Dave over here. I'm gonna jump the line on you here because guess who my pick was for this award?
Who do you got?
Marchenko. I did have Marchenko too. Dave,
am I back?
Continue.
You got it.
Oh no. Yeah, no, I was starting to ramble, and I guess I cut out there, so...
No, it's all good, man.
It told me, I guess my computer told me where to go.
Yeah, Cristian, you said you had the exact same pick.
Dave, if you missed it, I did also have Kirill Marchenko as my pick here. I'm going to hit us with some stats because I think you lined it up pretty well, just in terms of the abstract, but some numbers to back it up, too. Even strength goals on the year, Kirill Marchenko is tied for 5th. With 29, ties him with some guy named Alex Ovechkin. Maybe you've heard of him. I don't think we talked about him yet. But here's another thing about him. You describe what type of player he is, Dave, and the numbers from the 2 years he played prior to this. 59 games played in his rookie season. He had 21 goals, 25 points. Last year, 78 games played, 23 goals, 42 points. This year, 31 goals, 70 points in 71 games. So he's essentially a point-per-game player. I think what's surprising about a guy that you think of just like your stereotypical sniper is that he's actually pretty good on both sides of the puck. Even if you just say he's average, I think you're already putting him into a star category when you can score at this type of rate. But we're talking here about even strength goal differential, and I'm trying to pull it up here. I think he's top, let me see where I've got him right here. He's 15th in the NHL. He's a plus 31 when he's on the ice at even strength for his team.
That's huge.
And I think if you look at, I'm going to give you guys just not even the names, I'm going to give you the teams that the guys play for ahead of him. I'm going to rattle them off really quickly here. Dallas, Colorado, Tampa, Washington, Colorado, Edmonton, Washington, Colorado, Tampa, Vegas, Tampa, LA, Colorado. Kirill Marchenko at 15 for Columbus. I think every single team I named ahead there, maybe except for LA, whose Warren Foegele is at 13th in the league. But Kirill Marchenko is playing for a team that's in the middle of an absolute crazy wild card race, and he's been that important to his team. And while Zach Werenski is definitely the most valuable player to the Columbus Blue Jackets, I think you can make a really good argument for Kirill Marchenko as the second most important player on that team.
Okay, you guys make good arguments. You guys realize both of you have picked the same person for the first two awards, and I've decided to zag.
Oh,
it just happens to be that way.
Oh, we did.
Well, you got Elliot Friedman, yeah, and then you got Marchenko. Right. But that's fine. I mean, those are really good arguments for Marchenko, and I feel like he'll be our winner here simply because two of you guys picked him, and you make good points. But I'll go back to a team we already talked about because of Alexander Ovechkin, and this guy I think just got a little bit more love and probably would have gotten a little bit more had Ovechkin not kind of come to the surface as he has this season. We talked about him last pod, Alexei Protas. I think when we first looked at this award, it was even the thought of, like, what's the most improved player, too? And now we kind of look at it just like, it's very similar. Like, where's this guy come from? And I was not familiar that you had this in your bag. Protas has come essentially out of nowhere. So before the season, he scored 13 goals in 169 games before coming into the season. He's got 30 goals this year, 27 even-strength goals, which ties him for 7th, and it's more than every single player. I don't have the actual poll here, the actual team, but The Athletic put out a top 25 under 25 list, and he has more even-strength goals than every other player on that list, except Kirill Marchenko. So he is clearly above and beyond a lot of these players under 25 in that category specifically. He's tied on second on his team in points. And obviously Ovechkin's up there. Dylan Strome is up there. They are kind of the names that you think of this year to kind of push the Capitals into that stratosphere. But the depth scoring, even though a guy with 30 goals, you really consider him depth? I don't know. He played in every single game as well this season. So his season high in the past was 78 last year. He can obviously break his point total if he continues to stay healthy and continue to kind of hit that level that he's hit in terms of like the stability. And I think when you look at players like this, in order to stay underrated or maybe like you're not familiar with their game, you have to kind of stay healthy and stay consistent. And if you look at him, he's a huge body. If you look at his hockey DB page, he honestly looks like the most. He's Belarusian, but he looks so Belarusian.
So like European, he just Eastern European to
oh
to
my
the
god.
T.
Like literally he woke up and was like, I hate it. Basically, like, he drove to Service Ontario in the middle of a snowstorm every day to get to Capitals practice. So I think he'll end up staying in the lineup regardless of if the Capitals, obviously, they've clinched, they're fine. I still think they'll keep him in here because, you know, just he's a steady presence, I think, to keep him hot. I don't necessarily think he beats out Marchenko based on the numbers here in terms of winning the award, but he's really impressed me this season on a team that already has these superstars. If we're still saying his name, I think he's done something right.
I don't think you can go wrong with Protas at all. I'm pulling up, like you mentioned, like some of his stats before this year.
Yeah.
He's actually got more points this year than if you combine the past 3 seasons
it's crazy.
He had in the NHL, right? It's 29, 15, and 9. Super quick math there, 44. It's like 50-something, okay? Doesn't matter what specifically, but he's at 66. So it took him 1 season to double his, more than double his career NHL total. So you cannot go wrong with Alexei Protas. The guy is a monster.
No. Just a quick note on Protas, though. I haven't seen any updates, but he did leave yesterday's game. I think you said looks like a Achilles.
Did you guys catch the actual play?
I caught like a bit of the end. Like then I saw the replay. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I don't know. He did kind of limp off there.
He does. It's like skate on skate contact at first, but it doesn't look like there's anything that could have like grazed his ankle or whatever from someone else's skate. So that happens, and he's right at the front of the Chicago net. He's just kind of slowly backing up. And then he reaches for his ankle. And, like, to me, I just immediately thought, like, Achilles type of injury. Like, we saw Max Pacioretty with 2 of those in the past 2 years. And, it's just a pop that you get. Like, I've had, like, I wake up in the morning and, like, you move your ankle the wrong way and you almost get, like, the half pop. And just like, oh, that didn't feel good. and he looked like he maybe got it for real. I really hope not, because like we're saying, he's been really damn good, and for the Capitals' sake, in the playoffs, like the season does not end when Ovechkin breaks the record. They need him big time.
Big time. But I do think, like we were saying, Marchenko should win that award. He's dominant, and I think even in my my praise for Protas, it's still Marchenko who ends up getting the best of him. So I think that's fair, unless you guys disagree. But I think he probably should get the award for this one, eh?
I'm fine with that.
Protas is on my short list. He's literally like I flip flopped 1 and 2. We talked about him last week. He's 100% there. I'd be fine voting either guy. We can go to Marchenko just because the numbers.
Yeah,
I like it.
No, 100%. He is. Yeah, I have Protas on my short list as well.
Nice, good stuff, guys. We'll head here to the third award on our ballot is the Most Entertaining Storyline Award. So pretty straightforward, but essentially the idea behind this is that I know last season was pretty entertaining. There was a lot that went down, but this particular season gave last season a run for its money. There was a lot of different storylines, whether player, team, GM, coach, like so many different storylines that we can get into. But what essentially is the most basically entertaining storyline, whether player or team, that decided that this was the most entertainment value to the league that we essentially can't stop talking about? I think there's a lot of options. Cristian, we'll go to you first for this one, and then Dave, and I'll wrap it up here.
Yeah, I considered both ends of the spectrum here. Like, there's somewhere it's like the train wreck in slow motion that you can't turn your eyes away from, or there's just things that were just incredibly exciting. But I have to go with Four Nations. No matter how I tried to twist the knot in my head, the Canadians winning at Four Nations, it has to be it for me. I think it was exactly what hockey needed, and I still think if Four Nations just did not happen, we'd still be like, this was a really successful NHL year. Salary cap is still going up. Four Nations doesn't really factor too much into that, but that's a moment that we were waiting basically 10 years for. Even longer, 2014, like the 2016 World Cup, if you want to go there, 8 years, whatever you want to call it. And that's just kind of the piece de resistance of the NHL season for me. We've talked about it at length, but what I really liked about it is, even though the tournament is just like this week and a half period of time, the conversations about this started in the summer. Maybe even like years before. I think honestly every year you see an article come out, whether it's an Olympic year or not, where it was like, who would be on Team Canada if there was a tournament? And so many of those lists have gone to waste. Those players never played for Team Canada, and for once we could make those lists, and they actually happened. And I shouldn't just make it about Canada. I think it was obviously about the Four Nations, but the Canada-US games were
must-see TV.
Must-see TV both times. It's really tough for me to make an argument against Four Nations, guys.
I mean, it definitely ended in such a great style, because I know if it went the opposite way, if Canada didn't come up with that, I would have thought maybe that was the hands-down worst tournament that they've ever put together.
Terrible All-Star game.
Yeah, terrible, awful. But I'm glad it did go Canada's way in the end.
Yeah. What do you got for us, Dave?
Yeah, so I've got the Marc-Andre Fleury retirement tour. I don't know if we always see the stops that he makes, but I remember in particular I was working at SN for his last game in Montreal, obviously his hometown, and like the ovation he got. Pretty sure I don't think he picked up a shutout that evening, but he definitely got the win. And it was like a resounding win, and everybody in the Montreal, like in the Bell Center, was on their feet. They're chanting his name. It was awesome. Both benches kind of cleared out to give him like a big handshake line, and that's happened in different spots. We've also seen the return of his pranks. Like for somebody that's retiring, you would think maybe it's a little bit more somber for them, thinking like this is the last year that they're going to be in the league. But the Flower, he's still himself. Like he is the fun-loving, French Canadian guy who was drafted first overall by the Pens over 20 years ago. He's still the same guy over 20 years later, and I've loved Marc-Andre Fleury growing up. He's like such just I don't know, for some reason I've always loved the guy, just his personality. It's just so infectious. And for me, it's going to be sad to see him go, obviously, but it looks like he's going out on his own terms, which honestly not many players can have that type of style. So, yeah, Marc-Andre Fleury, man, love the guy.
It's a good one. I think that's what makes this award such a unique one. In a general sense, like it's a very straightforward award, but I think because we all have a little bit of experience in the industry early on, like some of our like experience over the last couple months probably sway this in our direction, and I know I can at least say that from mine, is just the whole Mikko Rantanen storyline this year. Like, I think no one really anticipated the direction this was going to end up turning, and it was such a roller coaster. And we don't have to recap everything, but just the initial trade to Carolina was such a shock for me. I've mentioned it, I think, before on the pod. I was working at Sportsnet during the internship and was scrolling Twitter X while the trade broke, and we were on air with Roger Lajoie, and I was like, dude, this has to get talked about. And just the whole rigmarole of trying to get Elliot Friedman to join and like following Twitter that night on the Friday. It broke Twitter, at least in the hockey sense, on a Friday evening. And I think this was a week before JT Miller, so back-to-back Fridays. But I think it was the highest high for a guy seeing Eric Tulsky. First year as a GM, he looks like Albert Einstein, but when he was, 25 years old. And everyone's like, this guy's a genius. Look at the move he's making. Surely they'll sign him for an 8-year contract. To the absolute lowest of lows, finding out there was no deal in place, and essentially this was not even close, at least from Mikko Rantanen's perspective. And then obviously having him move to Dallas. So not only do you have the entire storyline of, oh my God, he got traded to Carolina, there's that second wind of, oh my God, they're not going to sign him and he's going to have to get traded, and the speculation of where he goes. And now that he's in Dallas, 13 points in 13 games, it seems like the system's a little bit better for him. So the still entertaining nature of Mikko Rantanen himself, outside of the trade value, just the fact that he's an entertaining player, it's back. He gets a black eye and an inflamed face, like a week or two into his Dallas tenure, and we look at him like he's eating a puck after the game. Dramatic, but at the same time, the reason I think this was entertaining was, to me, it wasn't exhausting. Like, the JT Miller saga in Vancouver was exhausting to talk about. Week after week, I'm like, I don't want to have to talk about the Canucks again or think about the Canucks. It's such a stupid, like, you guys are almost
such a stupid
you,
franchise, man. You can say it.
No, but it's honestly, it's not even that. But the way it was handled, and like, Miller's over 30 years old, Pettersson's like 26, 27. Like, grow up. Like, seriously, I can't talk to him in the dressing room. Dude,
you're right.
You're right. You're a professional hockey player. So it's exhausting to watch that transpire. Where the Mikko Rantanen thing, I think, was actually entertaining rather than, like, it took a lot of mental capacity to follow. So that's why I think it was entertaining to me throughout the year.
Yeah, I think Mikko Rantanen, for me, was the one that I was waffling back and forth with Four Nations. And I kind of compared both of them. And I'm like, Four Nations was the most hockey of hockey moments this year, and the Mikko Rantanen saga was almost so not hockey that that's like why it was number 2. Like, I'm not criticizing it, I'm saying that's why it almost was my number 1, because it was just so out of the ordinary for this league. It was the Luka Doncic trade of the NHL, right? That's what it was. And like the Doncic stuff, that conversation's still going. Maybe it is exhausting now, but it dominated the headlines on the week of the Super Bowl, right? Like, how did the NBA manage to do that against the NFL? That trade was able to do it. And I do think the Mikko Rantanen saga, like you said, long, but it was always entertaining. It definitely was. And Marc-Andre Fleury, Dave, I looked. Minnesota actually this year never gave up a goal to Montreal. They won 3-0 and 4-0.
Wow.
Fleury was in that, obviously, for one of these games.
Yeah. It was a shutout in the Ballston. I thought it was like a 4-1 win or 3-1 win, something like that. But for that to be a shutout as well was definitely more special.
One of the awards we considered was, or I threw the idea out there, like your favorite hockey player's favorite hockey player. Marc-Andre Fleury would be like a shoe-in.
That's a good
one. That's a shoe-in there.
For sure.
I think though, if I'm voting, I would Four Nations.
I'd play Four Nations too.
Yeah, it's got to be Four Nations.
I think 100% it's got to be the Four Nations.
Yeah, crazy.
But guys, let's talk about like this year, just how many storylines there were. Like I considered, right? Like you got to consider the Great Chase, which is happening right now still, and that's a once in. Four Nations is maybe a once in. We're hoping every 4 years type of instance, maybe every 2 years going forward. 10 years in the making, but I mean the Great Chase is quite literally 25 years in the making since Gretzky ended his career. I think what maybe takes it out of consideration is that we're not really getting to the juicy part until right now.
Exactly.
Yes, it's a long run up for the. Like, he started 40-plus goals back, right, at the beginning of the season. A lot of people didn't even think it was going to happen this season. So until recently was when it kind of looked realistic, right? Like, once he got to the 25, 30-goal mark in this current season was when people were like, oh, wow, this could happen. And again, I had the Great Chase in there as well. We also talked about it a little bit. We talked about it at the top of the show, but 100%, you're right. It just didn't feel real to me until just recently, honestly. Even though I drafted the guy, and I quite literally said to everybody in our
fantasy,
in our fantasy room, I said the guy is going for a 40-goal season, and wow, was I right? I couldn't have been more happy with that pick for Ovi this year. You're talking about storylines. Another one that I had was just Columbus in general, just considering how their season started before it even began. And also for everybody to kind of write them off in the face of this like unspeakable tragedy. I don't need to relitigate all that stuff, but like what they've done since we talked about Kirill Marchenko, I mentioned in my rant, in my talk about Kirill Marchenko, the other great players on the team, man, I hope Columbus is kind of like here to stay, because when Columbus gets playoff hockey, that's a great building to watch just explode and then hear the cannon boom after that. I know somebody that worked at SN who was a big Columbus Blue Jackets fan, and he called them the Boomtown something. They were the Boomtown Cannon Daddies, I think he called them. And I was like, what a great name for them. The Boomtown Cannon Daddies are my honorable mention. Shout out CBJ.
Good for them. Yeah,
very honorable.
I think the one that I had written down, because I think we were originally thinking about whether we should do this as a player and a team award or an event and a team, but we combined it, was the St. Louis Blues, another team. Again, though, it's recency bias. So I was like, I don't want to pick something that just in the last 2 weeks has been super exciting. But I have
same with the Bruins downfall. That was
the Bruins downfall,
right?
I will save my rant on the Blues because I do have them something related to them for another award that I'll tease. But we've seen them win 11 games in a row, and there's all these stats to back it up and all this information, blah blah blah. But they are essentially locked into a wild card spot now, which we could not have said earlier this year. And again, it's in relation to the 2019 Blues. So I just think watching that now, again, recency bias pushes it out of my top storyline of the year, but just exciting to watch.
I think our winner though is Four Nations.
Four Nations.
I'm completely fine with that.
Agreed.
And if we want to move on, we can.
Yeah.
Let's go for it, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got our Alex Barkov Memorial Trophy, formerly known as the Frank J. Selke Award. It is the Alex Barkov Memorial Trophy, and the description that we gave for this is going to be awarded to the player with the reputation of the most underrated NHLer, even though he's been really good for 4-5+ years. Cristian, why don't you give us your pick?
Sure thing, bud. It's funny. I'm just going to list the first names of the guys I considered, just because I don't know how this ended up happening. But we've got a Jack, a Jacob, a Jake, a Jake, and my pick, a Jesper. I'm going with Jesper Bratt.
Nice.
I know. I'll get into the names after, but Jesper Bratt is my guy. I really do think he does not get the praise that he deserves. Do you know that this guy is at the fringe of top 10 in NHL scoring right now?
Mm-hmm.
This guy has an 86-point season, and I think in the past 2 years he's in the top 20 for NHL scoring, and he's been good. If you look at it, for now this is I think the fourth season he's had 70-plus points. I think he kind of is the definition of an underrated player, even on his own team with Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, Luke Hughes now. They trade for Timo Meier. Jesper Bratt's kind of blown Timo Meier out of the water in terms of contributing for his team. And he's a seventh-round pick. He showed up in the NHL as a rookie and basically hit the ground running and just never looked back. Half a point per game in his rookie year, and he's only gotten better. And it feels like it's been like against all odds.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going Jesper Bratt here. I feel like he's a guy that we always hear underrated, but you look at it, he's been good for a damn good while.
That's a great poll. I want to guess. Can you say the first names of the guys that you said again? Because I want to see if I can guess any of them just based on first name.
Jack, Jacob, Jake, and Jake.
Jack.
Oh my god. Okay, well it's pretty straightforward. Jacob, I'm gonna go with Slavin.
Sure. Yeah.
Jack. I want to say
think,
Drury, but that's the only one coming to mind.
It is not Drury.
Maybe this actually proves that this guy is deserving of like this type of award.
Okay.
When you think about it, I'll put it to you this way: who are the three best centers in the NHL? Like I think, and you know what, we can even go. Let's go four. Let's say McDavid, McKinnon, Matthews, Draisaitl. If you want to call Draisaitl a center, like there's those four. Who is number five?
With Jack Eichel.
I think you can make an argument for Jack Eichel.
I think that's a fair point.
Right? Yeah. So that was a guy I considered. The Jake and Jake, I'll give you. Sanderson. And you want to take a guess at the last one?
I'll give you this last one now.
Jake Gensel would be my other guess. Other guy here. So shout out to the quadruple J's for my quartet of guys that I considered. But I'm going Jesper Bratt. I think there's arguments to be made for all of them, though. Who do you got?
Oh, that's a good one. I was thinking as you were saying Jesper Bratt, like of one I didn't think of until now, and I'll say him after, but I'm actually going to go with the defenseman here. And it's actually fitting because he is a former teammate of Alexander Barkov, of which we've named this award after, and that is Mackenzie Weegar. It's like I said, fitting that he was a Florida Panther alongside Barkov. He's seventh amongst defensemen in takeaways with 46 and third in hits with 208, which I just think are two completely different metrics that are interesting to kind of poll just based on the fact that, you know, we have so many good defensemen in this league, Jake Sanderson, Jacob Slavin being two of them, which were runners-up for your award here. And I don't want to handpick because you can handpick stats until you're blue in the face. He is first in giveaways amongst defensemen this year with 141. And second is Erik Karlsson, which he gets a lot of flack, Karlsson does, I should say, because he's a riverboat gambler. But we've seen him win Norrises in the past, and for that good reason. And I think it's a similar metric when you look at Mackenzie Weegar. You look at that defensive side of the on daily faceoff. You look at their defensive pairings in Calgary, and outside of really like Rasmus Andersson, Weegar is their offensive dynamo, and he's not necessarily the most offensive-minded guy, but he's a smart player, I still think. And when you look at that defensive core, you have no option but to take chances because who else is really available for you? And not to mention that Weegar is a plus 13 on a Calgary team. I know plus-minus is kind of a stat that people you either love it or hate it. I don't mind it looking at it from this perspective. He's plus 13 on a Calgary team that is overall minus 22. And just hanging on to an opportunity for a wild card spot. So I just think that's pretty impressive. He was on the short list for the Canadian Four Nations team this year. Unfortunately, didn't make it. And I think that's a big reason for why he should be considered a player that is underrated or someone who is really good in this league that deserves more praise. He just didn't make that league to the point where the entire brass, Don Sweeney, the entire squad there, decided that he necessarily wasn't the guy. And I don't have the stats to back up this next guy. So I just want to get into it. And it'd be funny if Dave has this as his selection.
I said, how fitting would it be for my winner of the Alex Barkov Memorial Trophy to be Alex Barkov? Then I thought against it. I was like, no, let me do some research. And my pick is Mr. Jack Eichel. I knew I needed to pick Jack Eichel at some point in this award season because he is sneakily having maybe the quietest potential 100-point season. Right now he's at 93 points. It would be the first time in his career that he's hit 100-plus points. He's already at a career mark. I think he has a career high of 82 in 80 games. And this is a guy who, less than 5 years ago, everybody thought his career was in jeopardy. And it certainly looked that way. Like, he was going to be receiving neck surgery that really not many players, no player in the NHL has ever had. And the athletes that have gotten this surgery really haven't been quite the same, at the same level that they were pre-surgery. And for this guy to come back, he was traded to the Vegas Golden Knights, come back, be awesome for them, join their leadership group, and eventually help them get back to the Cup Finals and win a cup as like one of the leaders, is something that not many people maybe saw coming from him. So I don't know if that maybe discredits him because he has a cup and everybody kind of knows how great, but I think just based on the fact that this guy is literally flirting with 100 points and nobody's talking about him for whatever reason, I think for me, Jack Eichel, one of the best centers in the league currently, somebody who's been called overrated in the past, now he's just so overrated that he's been underrated. Jack Eichel, you get my nomination.
Yeah. I think you look
fourth
at
in the league in points right now, 93 points in 74 games. So
it is
ridiculous.
Nuts.
Yeah.
That is such a crazy fact, and I think I wonder just if it's a factor of he was drafted right behind McDavid, and people at that time were trying their best to make the comparison to say, no, McDavid isn't the consensus #1 pick, just because that's the hockey culture. You want to create sort of an excitement around the draft, and sometimes there just isn't, and you have to go with McDavid being that first guy. And then you see Eichel and just the saga with the surgery in Buffalo that they wouldn't allow him to get. I think it's just taken him a little bit longer just to stand so tall in his position. So I do think that that's a great pick. The only other guy I was thinking of, and I don't really have a ton of stats, so I'll just say it quickly because it came up when we were talking here, was Martin Necas. He's that guy who, like, Carolina never had a superstar. Aho's their best player. Sveshnikov's always been good, but he's very injury prone. Necas is not there anymore. He's in Colorado. But I think seeing him alongside McKinnon and seeing that he's faster and a little bit more dominant when it comes to it. No, he's not more dominant than McKinnon. I'm going to walk that back immediately. But his seam passes and his his vision and his speed are so dominant. That he's one of the most fun players to watch personally in the NHL. And I think especially now that he's on a Colorado team that style of play is very entertaining. And they're not as top-heavy anymore, so they don't need him to carry a lot of the load alongside McKinnon. But I would say if he's not one, he's top 5 for me at least. So I just want to give him a shout.
He's such a perfect fit on that team. And that's not even to say that he was a bad fit in Carolina, because he started the year red hot.
Yeah.
He was near the top of the league in scoring. So you're right, like, just as an individual player, he is so fun to watch. But it's almost like being traded to Colorado has put the spotlight on him, where maybe we have all come to grips with how good Martin Necas is, right?
Yeah. I honestly think all 3 picks might just come down to the fact that they're playing in markets, or we're playing in markets, that just don't get as much national media attention. And case in point, Martin Necas, the guy was playing in Carolina. They're not really the national hockey hotbed for the league. Well, I think that they should definitely have some more games on a national scale, but you go to Colorado where they're in the top 5 to 10 of teams that get the most national media attention, in the NHL. And you see, this is the Martin Necas that's always been there. We've known who he's been, and now he's kind of showing up. And I think maybe that kind of goes for the other picks that we made as well. Maybe I'm a little bit off base there. I don't know.
No.
Oh yeah, I think we can split this one, fellas. I think we've made way too good arguments to even give it to one guy.
I think that's fair. We'll give it to everybody.
Okay, we'll move on here. Best in-season acquisition, or as Mando he gave us this idea here. Best chess move. of the NHL year. And pretty self-explanatory. We are rewarding this to the most effective in-season move, trade, free agent signing, or coaching hire that has led to measurable team improvement this year. Mando, why don't you kick us off, buddy? What do you got?
I can. So I think when you think about this award off the bat, you think like trades or free agent signings halfway through the season or something like that. The way that I look at this award, and we just mentioned them, the St. Louis Blues brought in a guy who, when you look at the team's perspective and change from where he was to where he is now, it's literal opposites. And I don't take that word liberally. Boston Bruins have lost 10 in a row, and the St. Louis Blues have won 11 in a row. So it could not be more opposite on this sense. So it's the hiring of Jim Montgomery in St. Louis for me. November 24th, 2024, they brought him in. Blues were 9-12-1. They were sitting 5 points out of a wild card spot. And now they have won an 11 in a row. They have, 89 points, and they're sitting, I think 6 or 7 points. I probably should have had the specifics in front of me. I do have the standings, but on the wrong date for some reason. I think I'm looking. You got it covered?
I've got you here. So I'll give you this. Since November 25th, so day after he's hired here,
yes,
till today, St. Louis Blues are 33-16-6, 72 points. That places them fifth since the hiring. So
which is
the
crazy.
funny part too is you got Washington in first with 80 points. Teams 2, 3, 4 are also in the Central with the Blues. It's Dallas, Colorado, Winnipeg.
And
so St. Louis, fifth best team in the NHL since Jim Montgomery came in, only the fourth best team in their division.
It's unbelievable.
That's crazy. Yeah.
That's a great stat. They've been unbelievable. And I just want to highlight a couple more things. Like in going along with that stat of fifth best since his hiring, they're 17-2-2 since the Four Nations break. Like, that's 4 games that they've lost in 21. That's such an unfathomable thought. When they break it down for overtime loss, the way they do in the NHL, I think some of this stuff gets broken down a little. Like, you don't think about some of the fact that they've lost 4 games out of 21. I think that's such a crazy stat. It's difficult to there's so many good moves, but I just think that, especially seeing St. Louis, I've seen some of the interviews of players. They look like they're just such a fun and loose dressing room, which I think is so important around this time of year where things get a little bit stale if you're a team that's already made the playoffs, or, you're just kind of refining certain things. Teams aren't even practicing because they're saving the energy for the games. They're loose. They're having fun. And I do want to shout out Jobu. I hope you guys have heard about this story, but if not, I'm going to enlighten you real quickly.
Yep.
Yeah, so Jobu is a figurine from the movie Major League, and in the movie, the character Pedro Serrano used it to summon his bat to hit because he wasn't hitting curveballs. So it's this insane. I don't even really want to describe it, but it's this old bobblehead basically that he placed in his stall with a cigarette in it, and in the movie he's feeding it rum, and it's like a seance almost, right? Now the St. Louis Blues have this bobblehead in their dressing room, and it has its own stall. I saw an image that says Jobu with the St. Louis Blues logo next to it. Jake Neighbors did a hit on Amazon's Coast to Coast this past Thursday. Andy Petrillo, Keith Yandel, and Paul Bissonnette were basically on there, and they were asking him, and Biz was like, hey, what's this Jobu situation? Who brought him into the locker room? And Neighbors was like, I can't reveal that information. That's staying undercover.
Classified.
So, classified. And Yandel starts clapping.
Could it be somebody named Mim Montgomery?
Yeah, it very well could have. And if it is, that enforces my point even more. But I just think the fact that they have this glorious style run in them, it's almost identical to 2019, and I hate saying that because we have Craig Berube in Toronto, and that should be the formula to win. But it just seems like St. Louis is in such a great spot now, and when you look at the dynamic of Jim Montgomery being brought in as to where St. Louis was beforehand and where Boston is now, when in his first season with Boston, we know what they did, 65-game season, 65-win season in his first year as head coach. And now the Bruins might as well be an AHL team. So it's just such an insane transition, and I think hiring Montgomery was that big move this year that probably should push them over the edge.
Cannot go wrong there.
Would you mind if I jump in front of you, Cristian?
Here we go.
Go for it, Dave.
Okay,
Go,
because I did also have Jim Montgomery,
Nice.
the Jim Montgomery hiring as my one, And I don't know if we want to count this, but I also have Doug Armstrong offer sheeting both for the Oilers duo there. That kind of sparked the beginning of their season. Those two, for the first month, were it's seemingly like the only two players that were able to score on the Blues. But I also had that as my honorable mention because I wasn't sure if we wanted to go back to, because this is best in-season chess move. That's technically not in season, but it was like slowly getting to the beginning of the season where everything's ramping up with the offer sheet. So I was like, but just in general, I have the St. Louis Blues were playing chess while the Bruins were playing checkers, right? Just a little game there. And the Oilers were playing with sticks and stones by letting go of both Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. So,
good move.
Yeah, shout out to St. Louis, man. They've been making moves. 5D chess.
I may or may not have a guy whose name rhymes with Mim Montgomery as my pick as well. So, how about we just go ahead and entertain who would be number 2 here, okay? Because I think you guys have laid out all of the points very well. So, Jim Montgomery, congrats. You are getting the in-season acquisition award here. I'll tell you who I had at number 2, and I very much considered. It's one of Mando's guys from San Jose heading to Colorado, Mackenzie Blackwood.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a trade that really changed the Colorado Avalanche's fortunes just as much as the Mikko Rantanen and Martin Necas stuff, right? Like you talk about who they had in that before, Alex Georgiev, who you can go all the way back to last year, and in the playoffs there, I don't know if we've ever seen a more horrid performance like we were talking about putting in like Eustace Anunen, even like just for what? Just to try something different is basically what it was. And that kind of spilled into this year. And Mackenzie Blackwood basically, I have the stat here, since becoming a Colorado Avalanche, he has a .918 save percentage. I think Hellebuyck leads the league at a .924, .926. So he's put them from one of the worst goaltenders in the league to being one of the best. He got awarded with a contract. I think he's someone who we just wouldn't have expected this out of if you look back maybe a year ago. And it's just a move that Colorado was really willing to pull off early in the season. It was like December-ish.
Might have been even
just
before that.
I think it was early December, but yeah, maybe it was before. But that just goes to show you, like, they're aggressive. Like that's what the Rantanen trade was, and the Blackwood trade was aggressive. And even when everyone's maybe like, maybe you're overacting here, or maybe this isn't the best, they dive right in, and it couldn't have gone better for them.
Yeah, that's a great one. Shout out Jim. Shout out Mackenzie.
Shout out Jim Montgomery.
Jim Montgomery is the guy, man. Yeah.
Well, Blackwood's a good second. I did give that one a thought, but yeah, I think it's just clear based on what we're seeing now. So good pull here, boys. Good. I think that's our first collective answer, number 1, right? Unanimous.
That's a unanimous vote there.
Yeah.
Good for us.
Where are we at here in the rotation?
That's me, I think. I think I'm up here.
All right, hit it.
Got in here.
We got ourselves a unique award here. I think one that we would no one in the NHL probably would have thought to come up with this, and it is the M-V-PTO Award. And if you could probably figure it out if I didn't describe it, but essentially it is awarded to the most valuable player this season who entered training camp on a professional tryout contract. Obviously, there's a lot of these that come up in terms of the PTOs, but no one really makes a lot of splashes. And I don't think we have a clear-cut guy who scored 30 this year off a PTO. That's kind of the nature of the PTO, but there's always guys every year that seem to make the most of that one-year contract. And it's kind of a feel-good story. So I don't know who wants to kick us off with this one. I think, Cristian, maybe you had a couple guys in mind. You had a list. I don't know if you wanted to start, and then Dave, if you want to come up with someone, if you had someone in mind too, and I can finish us off here. Nice, beautiful.
Yeah, I looked into it, and I think there was something like 20-plus names who signed a PTO, or maybe about 20. Looked through every single one of them, and as I was kind of pulling them up in my browser, like just opening each of their NHL profiles, like when you open up a profile, and if I open up like Matthews' profile, the tab has like the little Leaf icon because he plays for the Leafs. So I open up all of these tabs, guys, and I want to say like 15 of the 20 are NHL icons.
Oh, no.
Because that means they don't play for a team anymore, right? So
there's a reason they were on tryouts, right?
Yeah.
Like they tried them out.
Yes. And
Didn't work.
They tried them out. But like a lot of them too, like it wasn't just like you get on a PTO and you don't even make it through preseason. Some of these guys played into the year and either got sent down or traded or whatever, right? Like Tyson Barrie was a name on Calgary. Like, do you remember Tyson Barrie playing for Calgary? Oh my God, not really.
For like a month.
Yeah, right. So you know what? I looked into it, and guys, I basically came down to two names, and I'll give you my winner here. It's Tanner Pearson. And I think, it is a really feel-good story. 25 points in 71 games for the Vegas Golden Knights, 12 goals, 13 assists. This is a guy who, what was it, last year? Or no, you know what? 2 years ago, coming into when he joined Montreal, had a hand surgery and a bunch of complications that kept him out basically for the entire 2022-23 season. He only played 14 games. And, like, his career was in question. Goes to Montreal last year, puts up 13 points in 54 games, but he's back to being like a contributor in a top 9 for a team. And it's not very often at all that you get that from a professional tryout contract. Like, you're never going to get a guy on a PTO who ends up being in the conversation for the Hart or anything. So turning a guy from a PTO into top 9 is solid work. So Tanner Pearson for me is my M-V-PTO.
Cristian, we do tend to think alike. I also have Tanner Pearson, but it's not also that we tend to think alike. It's just, it literally just comes down to the fact that there's quite literally a handful of names. I've got another player shortlisted, and I'm going to assume that the second player on your list is this player as well. I have this player for potentially up for grabs for another award that we have later on. So I will also go with Tanner Pearson as well. Just another little quick thing. He's 12th in team points this year. So, like, for everybody, for all skaters. And this is a guy, obviously, like we said, coming in on a PTO. And he's currently playing on the top line. Like, the last I checked on Daily Faceoff, Tanner Pearson is playing on the Vegas Golden Knights top line alongside Mark Stone and Jack Eichel. So good for him for turning a tryout into a... What if they go on a run, man? That looks like a great bit of business from Kelly McCrimmon. Shout out to Tanner Pearson.
Yeah, I have nothing else to say. Unanimous again. It was Tanner Pearson. You just look like I literally. There's nothing else to say. You guys hit everything. There's not much to say when it comes to these guys. Really, unfortunately, there was a lot of potential for a guy like Max Pacioretty, and obviously, unfortunately, he's been injured for a lot of the time. I do want to say one other guy that I'm surprised we didn't mention. And Dave, you said there's another guy who might be up for an award. So maybe I'll save it. What award are you talking about? Maybe just so I have a thought of whether to say it or not.
I think we know.
Let's save it.
We'll leave it.
Let's save it.
We'll save it. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
It's a good idea.
On that note, though, I can move us ahead. This is a instead of us kind of bringing our own list of players, this is more of a stats-based award, similar to like an Art Ross. But this is nothing close to the Art Ross. We have the Brandon Pirri Memorial Trophy. And this award is given to the player with the most extreme goals to assist ratio, aka the Cy Young stat line. So, Cristian, you have how many names on this list for the most extreme goals to assist ratio?
I'll go 5 deep for you. Okay. And then you guys can think about who you think is the winner. Okay. I'm gonna pull up Brandon Pirri's page here because I just want to listen, man. This is named after him for a reason. In 2014-15, 49 games played for the Florida Panthers. Mr. Pirri had 22 goals and 2 assists. It's an incredible. No, it's great, man. It is great. Okay, give you guys the names here in no particular order. Eli Tolvanen, Alex Ovechkin, Pavel Dorofiev, Chris Kreider, and Tage Thompson. Those are your 5 options here. Who's got the most lopsided goals to assist ratio, fellas? Who's got a guess?
I'm gonna go out on a limb because I picked up this player in fantasy, and man, was this guy giving me some goals, but man, was he not doing anything else for me. I'm gonna say Chris Kreider because I know he has. The last time I checked, he has a plus 15 differential, or whatever you want to call it. It's a 15 differential. He has 20 goals, 5 assists. Also, funny enough, playing on the fourth line right now for the New York Rangers.
Yeah,
not good.
Insane.
Dude, very bad.
Honestly, I did not. So I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know he's on fourth line right now.
Yeah. Fourth line right now.
Okay, Mando.
Your guest, Dave, is more educated than mine because you have the extensive fantasy research here. But I was just going to throw it out, and just to be different, I was going to say Dorofeev. So we'll just go with him based on no analytical perspective at all. What is the answer?
So unfortunately, guys, I did not go into every single NHL player and do their goals divided by their assists. So I'm just going to give you the rough shit here. Dorofeev was 32 goals, 17 assists. Chris Kreider, like you said, 20 goals and 5 assists. It is Chris Kreider.
Nice.
That's a 4 times ratio there from goals to assists. It's no Brandon Pirri at 11, but it's pretty damn good from Chris Kreider, or bad, depends on how you want to think about it.
20-5 season, man. That's a Clayton Kershaw-esque.
Hey,
I just want to know what his ERA is. If he's playing on the fourth line, it's probably not that great.
Yeah.
It's fun. I did consider another baseball award. I was trying to figure out how it could get a Drew Hutchinson award.
Dude, I was just about to say that's a Drew Hutchinson award. If Chris Kreider's playing on the fourth line with a 20-5 record, he's got a 25 record with a 5.5 ERA.
Yeah, I was trying to think about it from a goalie perspective. I'm like, okay, which goalie gets the most run support but isn't a good goalie? And I was like, this is too hard for me to find out. But yeah, Drew Hutchinson. Maybe you'll get a Drew Hutchinson award next year.
Shout out Drew Hutchinson. Those black jerseys he used to wear.
I was also thinking, I wonder, that's a good award. I think we should consider that. I haven't done any look. I was just trying to find it quickly, but it's hard to find. What's the opposite of the Cy Young? What's the one with the least amount of goals and the most amount of assists? I don't know who that player would be.
A pitcher who
just doesn't win.
I'm even just thinking in the NHL.
You know who I'm thinking this
Jacob
year?
DeGrom.
I'm thinking Jacob DeGrom. No, because you know what, the Mets were kind of decent while he was there. He would have to be a stud on a crap team.
Yeah, and that's what he was for 1 year. He had genuinely the worst run support, but in the modern era.
You're right. You are right. Yeah. And he put up a Cy Young caliber year.
Yeah, but they wouldn't consider him because he had a terrible record. He didn't have a great record.
Mando, I think the answer to your question in the NHL for most lopsided assist to goals ratio, if I had to guess, probably Lane Hudson this year.
Yeah, that's a great guess.
Probably.
I think he's got 5 goals and 60 assists,
50
right?
Plus
something
assists,
like that.
I think, yeah,
58 assists, something. So
it's going to be a defenseman.
Probably Lane Hudson.
Yeah, it's a defenseman for sure. But you know what? That's not a bad guess. It's not Cale Makar. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
definitely not Cale Makar.
Unbelievable. Yeah. It's a good award there.
Where are we at here? Is my turn, fellas?
Yeah. Take it off.
Okay. We mentioned it. The most fourth liner to ever fourth line award. I don't know where me and Dave picked up this saying. I honestly, we might have ripped it off from somewhere, but I don't even know where. And I just know we started using it. I'm gonna give some history.
Give the context here. Give the context.
Let me give you the description. This is awarded to the player who most perfectly embodies the fourth line role. They are rarely scratched, never promoted to the third line, always dependable on the fourth line. They can't play anywhere else. It doesn't work. I wrongfully accused a Leaf of being deserving of this award, and I think this was this last year, Dave? I think it was 2 years ago.
No.
It was last year? I think it was 2 years ago.
When did he not?
I'm going to look up now.
Yeah.
I'm going to look up now. But we use this award, I'll give you some, names here I'll give you some names so, you can familiarize yourself with, the type of award this goes to. Maybe a Dominic Moore was once upon a time, most fourth liner to ever fourth line. It was 2 years ago. So I accused Bobby McMahon of once upon a time being the most fourth liner to ever fourth line. And boy, was I wrong. I think since that moment, we've continued, me and Dave, to use that term in conversation.
That's a funny one.
That's a bad take for me. Bad take. So let's figure out who actually is the most average fourth liner you can possibly think of, guys. Give it to me.
Okay. So my winner will be Stevie Lawrence. because, man, oh man, him on the fourth line has been such a revelation. I'm pretty sure he scored the first goal of the season this year for the Toronto Maple Leafs, if I'm not mistaken. Multiple shorthanded goals, including one just recently where it bounced off of whatever referee it was. I think was it Kelly Sutherland?
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
So bouncing off Kelly Sutherland's like body right into his path. He's like the most opportunistic player of all time. And every 15 games or so, the guy will just turn into Connor McDavid. I saw it live for myself. New Year's Eve against the Islanders. The guy, Ontario-born kid, grew up loving the Leafs. There's literally nothing more like that you can just love about Stevie Lorenz. Like everything about him, even like his personality. He's just got a great personality. He's a big body. He's stapled at that fourth line and will never get scratched. He is the quintessential fourth liner if you were gonna pick up fourth liners. But I also have another pick. My honorable mention is gonna go to Jano Cop, as I call him, Mark Jankowski.
Okay, I was about to say, who the hell is Jano Cop?
The Jano Cop. The Jano Cop himself, Mark Jankowski, 6'4", 212. That's all you need to say. The guy's been electric since going to the Canes for a fifth rounder. 7 goals in 12 games is absolutely ridiculous for a fourth line player. So I'll give my credit to Mark Jankowski where credit is due. But Stevie Lorenz, for me, he takes the cake as the most fourth liner to ever fourth line for this year.
Okay.
I love it.
I got 3 options here, boys. And one of them I'll just say off the top, personally should be one of the best fourth liners to ever fourth line of all time. Now, unfortunately, he's listed on Daily Faceoff on the third line, which is very surprising because he's ultimately been a fourth line player for the majority of his career. And that is Casey Cizikas of the New York Islanders. That team has to be on average 35 plus their entire average age. So I cannot believe that Cizikas somehow is snuck into the third line. But the fourth line center is Kyle McLean. Not Ron McLean, Kyle McLean, whoever that is. I know Kyle McLean, but I guess that is the most fourth liner on that team. Now, Matt Martin was a former member of that line alongside Cal Clutterbuck. He is another player, I believe, that signed a PTO this year, and he's still technically there, but he got some top-line love, I think, when he was in Toronto, of all places. So I don't think it deserves Matt Martin this award. So technically, I'm taking Casey Cizikas out of the running just because he is in that spot. The 2 other options, but the one I think I want to go for the most is Keegan Colasar. Just kind of a random name that you wouldn't think of. But in the past 4 seasons, the minimum amount of games he's played is 74, so he's pretty reliable. He's a guy that kind of pops up every once in a while on Sportsnet Central or Sports Center because he's either scored a decent goal or he's thrown hands. Hasn't gotten above 27 points in a season. That's his max this year. He scored 12 goals so far. And I think he's just a guy who's made of absolute metal. Whatever it is, he's 6'2", 216, not necessarily a huge guy for the fourth line, but I think he's very reliable, and in that you could probably move him up if you wanted to, but why not? He plays the role really well. And then just honorable mention here is Trevor Lewis. He's done it for over 1,000 games in LA. Has the most points he's had, I'm looking here, is 26 back in 2018. He's got 55 games played this year, 10 points. The past 3 seasons, he's played 80, 82, and 82 games. So, the reliability factor is there, that no healthy scratch aspect is there. I want to give Trevor Lewis his flowers because I don't think I'll ever say his name again, just in a general sense. Just a good, reliable guy. But Colasar is my pick for this year.
Those are great names.
Those are
great,
really good names.
Yeah. I love how diverse the names are that we're throwing out here.
Yeah.
So we're just going all over the place. This is almost like, how people debate the verbiage of the Hart Trophy. Is it most valuable to the league, to the team? How do you interpret it? Does it have to be on a playoff team, this or that, whatever? So I think you guys named a lot of guys who I'm I really want those guys on my fourth line. Where it's I think my interpretation is they just can't play anywhere but the fourth line.
You don't want them anywhere
not
else.
bad enough to scratch. Yeah, they're just so I think Steven Lorenz, good fourth liner. Casey Cizikas, really good fourth liner. Keegan Colasar, really, really good fourth liner. I think Trevor Lewis is the name that came to mind for me, and it's more like a lifetime achievement award. This guy has been fourth line from almost start to finish. So he is the guy who I did consider. I think I am going to stick with him. I think I can give it to him. But some other names I considered: former fourth liner on the Leafs, Zach Aston Reese. His career high in points is 17. He had actually last year. Maybe this actually takes him out. I'm actually going to take him out because he played 3 games last year, and so he couldn't fourth line enough to. He wasn't the most fourth liner to fourth line. The other name, though, and I think this is one we got to talk it out. This guy really might be as fourth line as it gets. Luke Glendening.
Yeah.
Just the name, like you just say the name, and you're like, yeah, he plays on the fourth line. Right?
I thought he was a
defenseman. That's not a star. That's not.
There's an Adam Clendening.
Sure.
Former
defenseman.
Red Wing.
Mando. Luke Glendening. See, and that's part of it too, because like he played for Jeff Blashill, and if I was doing like a most average coach to ever coach, like Jeff Blashill might be the name. So maybe the combination with Luke Glendening really gives me this idea for him. Career high in points is 23. 11 goals is the career high. He's just the guy where I could not imagine him anywhere other than the fourth line.
I do have a question.
70-plus games a year.
I have if you could give me 32 guesses on where that guy plays right now, I would not be able to tell you. I have no clue.
I think I could guess this. I think he's a Tampa Bay Lightning.
He is a Tampa Bay Lightning.
Okay, that just
he's played for.
No, you know what?
3.
It's crazy because so we're gonna take it a little bit out of. Is Zemgus Girgensons also in Tampa?
He is on Tampa.
He is also in Tampa.
So
that's why I looked at him too. Yeah.
Those are the two guys I'm like, I can't believe they're in Tampa. But sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
That's what came to mind.
You know what the thing with Zemgus Girgensons is like his brother was given an All-Star nomination one year. I can't.
I know. No, absolutely not.
And you know what's the thing at the time too is like he was like a decent player that year. I think he had like 35 points, which is like you're not a fourth liner anymore. You're not
third
there
liner
anymore. He's very much a fourth liner now. Like he's really cemented himself. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with Trevor Lewis if we're cool with giving it lifetime achievement kind of award to Trevor Lewis.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 games playing on the fourth line, like at all times too. Like that
is like
that's the thing.
You know who's the third line version of Trevor Lewis? I don't have his stats here, but like Matt Cullen was that guy.
Okay.
Yep.
I think Matt Cullen is the most third liner to ever third line.
He played
defensively responsible.
Didn't he play absolutely. Didn't he play like 1,500 games? He played like a ridiculous amount of games.
Penguins teams, right?
Won a couple cups,
He's about as average, I think, as you could get as just an NHLer in all terms.
I do want to shout out 2 other quick names. I'm just going to put them out. We don't even have to go into detail, but shout out to Brett Howden, teammate of Keegan Kolesar, and also shout out to Nick Dowd. Might be the best. Might be the best fourth liner, let's say. Like in terms of guys that you really want on your team, I think Nick Dowd might be that guy. Shout out to the Caps for locking him up.
That's a good one.
Yes, sir.
Just Matt Cullen played 1,500 games. 15,
that's ridiculous.
16 as that third line guy. So that's impressive.
Right? Yeah.
I got 2 more awards here, right? Who's? I think Dave. I think you might be up for this one. This second last one.
I'm good for that one. So we've got our second wind award. So we had to shoehorn a pun in at some point here, and here it is. So we got the second 2ND wind award. And the parameters for this award is that it is awarded to the player age 30 or older who meaningfully improved their production this season, proving that they've still got it. On that note, Alex, why don't you kick us off?
Okay. I think there is a player that we will address here that probably deserves the award. But there's another one that I can't believe didn't immediately come to mind when I looked this up, and I kind of did a little bit of research. But my pick, honestly, above the player that we all think also embodies this award, is Matt Duchene. Especially in the year that he's doing it, a UFA year. So Matt Duchene's 34 years old. It's currently his second most productive year of his entire career, and he's had a very long career with multiple franchises, and you really think of it. But I think when you look at Matt Duchene, he's never been like a guy who was drafted third overall and you expected him to be, the point producer that he didn't necessarily end up being. He's got 77 points this year, which is still very good. 86 points was his career max in Nashville in 2022, which it would have been 30-31 at that point. So still late bloomer, I guess you can consider it. He's got 11 points in the last 10 games, and right now Dallas is on an 8-0-2 run. So I think what's important there is that he's 34 years old, and at this time of the year you expect most guys, especially probably the older guys, to run out of gas and think maybe that they're going to just sort of put it in a neutral while they coast into the playoffs, as Dallas has already booked their spot to the postseason. No, like he's still going at basically above a point per game pace in the last 10 games at least. And he's literally found a second wind, especially of late. Now, I think that's a big reason for why he's my decision, and he's my pick for this specific award. I just think that he is so consistent over the years. He's playing, I think he's second or third in the league. Second. I think he's sitting at tied in first in points on his team. I'm trying to think of who's tied with him. I had his DB page up.
Maybe Wyatt Johnston.
Wyatt Johnston's up there for sure. Jason Robertson.
Jason Robertson.
It is Jason Robertson who he's tied
Rob.
with, and I think Wyatt Johnston's right behind him. But just the fact that he's doing this at 34 in a UFA year.
Two guys that are 10-plus years younger than him.
Exactly. Like, it's ridiculous. And they've got some older guys that he's sort of filling in for, like Tyler Sagan's out for the year, and obviously it's kind of nice to see Duchene step up. That's all I'll say. I think he's had an incredible year, and I think he's earned a paycheck, and good for him.
It's I also have some things on him. He is my honorable mention as well. It's the first time he's hit over 70 points since the 21-22 season, like you mentioned, with Nashville, and it's only the third time in his career for somebody who was such a high draft pick and had so much baggage in the early part of his career, especially before going to Nashville, like those years with Colorado on the bad Colorado team, then getting traded to Ottawa, and them that coinciding with Ottawa kind of going into the wilderness around that time as well. Like, Matt Duchene's been through quite a lot, and I think, dude, that's a great pick for this award, 100%. Do you want me to go, Cristian, or do you want your name?
You know what? Honestly, I think I'm going to be off the board from you fellas. So, do you want to save? I feel like you have the name who I think you have, Dave.
I don't know. I don't know if I don't have the name who I thought we were going to change this namesake to.
Okay.
Instead,
so I can go.
Go.
Okay. I'm going to go with, and I did have Matt Duchene on my short list as well. I had 4 names. The other name, Alex Ovechkin, which was like an obvious one, but like
it's the free square.
Different. I'm going with Darcy Kemper, guys.
Wow.
Okay.
This guy last year, like his save percentage last year, .890 in Washington. He's involved in the trade where he gets sent to LA for Pierre-Luc Dubois, which was basically here's our 2 problems. Let's see if they magically solve each other, and they actually did. They actually did. So he jumped from an .890 save percentage with Washington last year. Do you guys know Darcy Kemper's save percentage right now?
I'm gonna say it's above 9. It's above 900. That's for sure.
Starts with the 9.
I'll give a guess.
What is the second number?
I'll give a guess. It's gonna be a 915.
It's a 920, guys.
Wow.
He's at a 920 save percentage. I should have pulled up where that ranks in the league, but I'm almost positive it's top 3, definitely top 5.
Definitely top 5.
Probably.
And here's the other one that really surprised me. High danger save percentage. Number 1 is Andrei Vasilevsky at an 862. Number 2 is Darcy Kemper at 860. Third is Connor Hellebuck at 841. So it is quite literally Andrei Vasilevsky, Darcy Kemper, and everybody else.
Wow.
2 Vezina winners.
Pretty damn important.
And Darcy Kemper.
And 2 Stanley Cup winners as well. And that's the last time Kemper made the playoffs, was that Cup win with Colorado. So it'll be interesting to see what he does in the playoffs this year. I think he's a guy that, this season really, when we were talking about like, how isn't Logan Thompson on Team Canada? As the season goes on, you can definitely say that Darcy Kuemper deserving to be there at age 34.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a fantastic pick. I don't know if this one maybe is also off the board as well, because I don't have the other name that we were all definitely considering, but
we're all like tiptoeing around.
Yeah, it was John Tavares. John Tavares has been fantastic this year. He's on my short list, but I didn't want to be the guy to bring him up, so I'm glad I did it. Because also, I feel like this guy is pretty deserving of this. The Pittsburgh Penguins have been absolutely brutal all season. They've been a real tough watch. But one bright spot that they've had is Rickard Rakell, who has 33 goals and 66 points in 75 games this year. For a short period there, he was somebody who was getting a little bit injury prone. He missed quite a few games during his years with the Ducks, his early years with the Penguins. But this is the first time that Rickard Rakell has hit over 30 goals since 2017-18 on the Ducks. So Rickard Rakell, 33 years old, I believe, still locked up for another, I believe it's another year or maybe 2 more years.
I think longer, yeah.
In Pittsburgh. They're not going anywhere that quickly, but if Rickard Rakell can like keep up this type of play over the next, say, year, 2 years, and he kind of gets a move away to a big or a team that's looking for extra goal scoring, man, Rickard Rakell could be that guy for a lot of teams. And
trade buzz about him this year.
Past year, yeah,
right?
Yeah, 100%.
3 years left on his deal after this one.
That's tough.
And he's hey, listen,
33.
31. So he's
31.
He's getting there. He's 31. So 3 years takes him like 34, 35 right after this one. So and he's at $5 million, right? Like it's not bad.
It's palatable.
You're definitely willing to pay that for a 30 goal scorer. This might be another one, guys, where it's like we got some really good picks. We might have to split this one.
Well, also there's so many. I think next time if we do this award, if we were to like update it either at the end of the year or the next time we do it next season, I think we should maybe push the age gap up. And the only reason I say that is because when you think about some of the players that are 30 or older, like Stolarz is having an incredible year. Nikita Kucherov's 31. He's leading the league of points. So the thing is, I think
it has to be almost like bounce back or something.
I agree with that.
Right?
I agree with that.
So that's kind of what it is.
Can John Tavares be considered like a bounce back? Like the guy has quite literally been a 30-plus goal scorer for thing. Yeah. He just might be touching 40 this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it's like he improved the production, but that much, not really, right?
Maybe
he's definitely there.
Maybe we up the age limit then next year.
Maybe just to 32 even.
Yeah.
It's 32.
We'll figure it out.
I
still like our answers.
Pretty good picks here.
And they're all like 33 for Rakell, 34 for Duchesne. How old is Darcy Kuemper?
34.
Yeah,
34.
So like we still took this to heart, and I think we answered the question. We picked really well, but I'm happy to split this for sure.
I'm good with that too.
Nice. We'll finish strong here.
Yeah, why don't you give us our last award, Mando?
I'm down.
This is where it all started.
This is where it started. I love the title of this award. I love the enthusiasm that you guys brought when putting this on the board. The Golden Shin Guard / Shin Pad Award. Awarded basically to the NHL's best defensive defenseman this season. This is one where you figure the NHL should probably have an award like this. It's probably the likeliest outside of maybe like the most improved player or something that the NHL should consider because the Norris is a little bit biased. And basically the criteria is they're a shutdown king, an absolute warrior on the PK, a demon in the defensive zone, and just a master of the little things in general that they don't get a lot of love. This is I think similar to the fourth line guys that never get the credit. We're giving them the credit now. 100%. Dave, I know you're enthusiastic about this one, Dave. I'm going to give this one to you here.
This one came from a place of like I'm pretty sure me and Cristian, this could have been like on one of our train rides.
We did this on this pod.
Did we do this on this pod as well?
We talked about this at the end of a pod, early in the season,
Where like,
but this was this is one we thought of before too,
Yeah, we formulated this one from like a lot of these we were like, oh, this one seems kind of funny, but this one was like a shoo-in from quite a while ago.
I mean, we had articles pop up this year of people who like took it seriously. They didn't call it the Golden Shin Guard. They just said like best defense, right? There's been a bunch of those, and I think, Dave, what I liked about it too is that like we put like the football flavor on it, football flavor, right? You have the golden boot in soccer, and I think the funniest thing not funniest because you could have other ones too, but golden shin guard is just a funny image in my head. So.
Especially like holding up a golden shin guard like on a trophy.
Yeah.
I also kind of took this as the award for the real good pro who just gets in front of the rubber. I put that one down in my notes. So what I did was I looked up the top 4 shot blockers this year. So these are all players that I think could realistically end the season. Maybe not all of them, but end the season with the most amount of shot blocks with 5 to 10, whatever, if it's like 7 to 10 games left in their respective seasons. So would anybody like to take a guess at who leads the league? I will give you a team if that makes it easier.
I have 2 names of the 4, I think, but I actually don't know who's number 1.
I got a couple of guesses. Cristian, go for it here.
Okay, I'm pretty sure this guy's number 2, but because I can't have someone come to mind right now, like Nick Seeler.
No. Not even in the top 5. Oh, not even in the top 4.
What the hell?
He's struggling.
I don't got a name then.
I'm going to guess a couple here, Dave, just to see if I can sneak a couple in. We'll start with one that I think is front of mind. Is Chris Tanev in that list?
He is. Right now, he's number 4.
Okay. Is Moritz Seider in that list?
Not on the list that I found.
That is okay. And my last guess is Alec Martinez.
No, but that is those are good picks as well.
Thank you.
Hopefully I got this one right, because like now if I bring
I've got the list here, Dave. I've got it.
Okay, so number 1, Jacob Trouba, 201 blocks on the year.
Wow.
Ian Cole just behind him on Utah, 195 blocks.
My God.
Number 3, Rasmus Anderson on Calgary, 184 blocks. And rounding out the top 4, because I think after this, it's like we're getting to like plus like 30 is like the the spread between 5 and 1. So I'm like, okay, 30 blocks in 10 games seems kind of crazy, especially for those guys as well, like that are going to be playing probably. But Chris Tanev, number 4, 176. I just had to shoehorn Chris Tanev, and I could have stopped. I could have stopped at number 3, but I gotta show love to Chrissy T. Just been absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna just go off on a limb and say Jacob Trouba probably just ends the year with the most amount of blocks. Now, I don't know if you guys have other names in terms of like, because I took Shingard as like quite literally like these guys just get in front of the puck. So that's how I kind of went with this. But everybody, all the other names that you guys had could definitely be in contention at some point. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nick Seeler, I did look. He is tied actually with Chris Tanev, so he's technically 5. So he's also got 176 blocks. So thank God I didn't hallucinate that one too badly. This is where I actually had Nick Seeler come up. I looked at shot blocks per 60. Taking it too far for no reason at all. And Nick Seeler is number 1 at 8.78. David Savard is there too. Chris Tanev still 4. It's like still the same names in the top 5.
It makes sense.
Like we're dealing with the same guys. I still want to give it to Chris Tanev personally.
I'm fine with that.
But you know what it is too? It's just this like we didn't know what this type of player looked like until we got him. Like we have thought we've had shutdown defensemen in the past. From a Leafs perspective, like who have been some of the best quote unquote shutdown defensemen in this era? Like it's not a long list.
TJ
like you're going
Brody,
to Jake, like exactly. You get to TJ Brody very quickly. Like I think it's Jake Muzzin, and then TJ Brody. That's how quickly you get to TJ Brody. Jake McCabe, now that he's been here for a couple years, probably leaps, maybe even both of them. I'd say definitely Brody. Muzzin's a heftier guy. Chris Tanev, I think, honestly, like it's just that he is like the physical embodiment of the shutdown defenseman, and it's night and day difference from a guy. Like I would have told you, not last year, but 2 years ago, 3 years ago, like TJ Brody is a really good shutdown defenseman. Like he's so responsible with the puck. He's a smaller guy, but he knows what he's doing with it. That's true, but like Chris Tanev, it just blows him out of the water. Like that's what a shutdown defenseman looks like.
100%.
I think I agree. I think Chris Tanev deserves it just based on, we're a little biased, but like the sample size we've been given has proven. I want to see if S.L. Lendl would get any votes if this actually came up in contention.
That's a very good show.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a little bit more offensive touch than I think a lot of these guys. And by a little, I mean like very marginally. I think he's got like 20-something points this year. But just doing all of this without Heiskanen and like being kind of that number one guy, but also trying to manage all of the positions that he's been put in and still having the team be really good. I think he's like plus 36 or something this year. So I just think that adds a lot of value. And
11th in blocks, by the way, 158.
Okay, so that's not bad. So I mean,
he's there.
I think if we're looking just in terms of like best defensive defenseman, and it's a little bit less about blocked shots, I guess, I think I'd probably give him the nod, or at least like a look. But I still do think like if all things come down to it, I like Chris Tanev as our selection.
I like it too.
You know what it is too? It's like every team he's been on, like this guy's never got a bad review.
Yeah.
Never. Every time there's a Chris Tanev highlight, I see comments of people like, "Wish we still had him," from Vancouver, Calgary, and Dallas.
Yeah,
100%.
Doesn't matter.
It's true.
So,
It really is. Good stuff, guys.
Tanev, Golden Shin guard.
So that looks like it's going to wrap up our inaugural second look award show. I said before we came on, you get us to 1,000 subscribers by this time next year. We will come on in full suits, maybe tuxedos. Well, depending. But you have to get us there. On that note, do you guys have anything else you guys want to mention before we sign off?
This was really fun.
It was.
It was really good.
Hopefully everybody enjoyed. It was a fun experience for sure.
This was a lot of research. Personally, I'm coming into a lot of these things with not as much research as I did. And that is that saying something about me? I don't know. But I really wanted to impress on this one. And I think all three of us, just all our answers impressed. I might keep my list, and maybe like this time next year we look back
on it.
Yeah, we look back on who won, and maybe we see some repeat winners. Like, who knows? Maybe we get a best actor 2 years in a row. But
I like that.
We'll see. Maybe that's an award that we could do. Like, who's the best actor in terms of like giving
that's
the
not
best
a bad
performance?
one.
Embellishment, sure.
That's a good one.
Also, leave a comment down below if you have an idea for us to use in the future. Maybe we'll take it into consideration. Let us know if you didn't really understand any of the words, and maybe we can tweak it somehow that we can use going forward. But on that note, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Second Look Sports channel. Follow all our socials. You can find that in the description of our bio. And on that note, we'll see you guys next week.